right, my friends, if you have been relying on the government to give you food, then this episode is going to be extremely hard, or you probably already heard the news that the government shutdown is still going on, at least by this time, and it might not come through as far as opening up by November 1st for SNAP benefits, food stamps, funding, the air traffic controllers, everything that goes along that comes from just the government funding. But if you're in that position where they're paying for your food, then it's gonna be a tough few days unless they can come together and figure something out. So, but first, let me switch over. If you're in that position, then one of the things I always recommend people to do when it comes to their finances is understand where all your money is going. So it's not enough just to have a budget. The budget just tells you, okay, what do you have in your account, or where have you spent, or how much you should spend. But it's good to understand your buying habits. And in order to do that, you have to do a financial audit. Now you could do it yourself. You just have to be consistent with it. But I do offer that service where do 3 month financial audit, 6 month, 12 month. One of the most interesting statistics that I came across is this one: the 51% of Americans haven't taken a vacation in more than a year. Now, when you're grinding every day, you're going to work, traffic, all that stuff, paying bills, eventually you start to break down, you start to just crash, and it's really important to just get that breather. So I can tell a lot of people are stressed in this country, and it's probably because most people are not taking vacation. Maybe, when was the last time you took your own vacation? So that's what's going on. Let me go to the store and show you. A 3 month personal financial audit, $250. Understand your buying habits, why you're buying something. Obviously, it's good to get the 12 month. That's for $800, but it's on you. Really, the whole point is to bring some clarity as far as what are you spending your money on and why. Maybe there's something that you don't realize consciously that you're doing that you start to figure out. When I did my first personal audit, I realized that I was buying too many books. Now, it's good to have books. Don't get me wrong. I love books. You can see my bookshelf. Well, this is one of them. But it gets to a point where I keep buying books and I'm not finishing the ones I already got. So, I mean, that might seem something trivial, but for me, it just lets me know, like, hey, if I'm spending money here, if I'm not catching up with all the reading, then that can put me in the trend of just going on Amazon, just buying stuff and not needing it for that moment. So for me, I had to really focus on that discipline of not spending so much. But anyways, the link, if you want to do your financial audit, especially since this year is coming to a close, last quarter of 2025, you want to start 2026 in a better way. You don't want to be worrying about government shutdowns or any other financial crisis. It always starts, you should really start with tracking your money. Where are all the leaks in your money going? Looking at the statements, understand, okay, how much did you spend the previous month compared to this month on this specific category? Really important. You got to get data for yourself so that you can see where you can make improvements. All right. So let me see. So I going to go through 5 topics. So the first thing I'll talk about is just the government shutdown, the SNAP benefits, how that's going to be affecting a lot of people in a few days. So maybe they'll get their act together, or maybe they'll come to an agreement, the government, and this won't go through. But regardless, I'm talking as if it's going to happen. And even if it doesn't happen, if you feel a little bit anxious, then that's a sign that you need to do something with your financial situation. You should always be in a position where no matter what politicians do, you're always going to be in a good space. So that's the first topic. And then the housing crisis that's going on. Houses are really expensive. It's still like almost $500,000 to get a starter home or your first home. That's the average price tag on the market right now, so that sucks. Then we got topic 3. Oh yeah, a lot of mass layoffs, job security, AI is definitely contributing to that. What can you do so that you put yourself in a better position? All about solutions and figuring out how to move forward because this is happening now. Hey, it's you gotta do things differently. And then what else I got? Amazon layoffs. So Amazon layoffs just occurred. So they're going to be restructuring and doing all that and attributed to AI. So we'll read some articles, or we'll read a article, and then I'll talk about that. And then the last one is what's going on in New York with Zoran Mamdani. I believe that's how you pronounce his name. Him being the Democrat socialist. If you haven't heard about him, then maybe it really doesn't affect you. But if you're like into politics, you're following a lot of different races that are happening right now, then you're definitely curious to see what happens in that situation. So I'll briefly talk about that. So let's get into it. So the first thing that's going on, the biggest thing that's happening, is the government shutdown and the SNAP benefits. So let me switch this over. Okay.
Not all tobacco products are the same. General
Why is
Snus
this
has
playing sound? This never plays sound. Anyways, this is coming from the AP News. Trump administration post notice that no federal food aid will go out November 1st. So right now it's October 29th. So hey, it's getting pretty tight. Let's see what they say. So the U.S. Department of Agriculture has posted a notice on its website saying federal food aid will not go out November 1st, raising the stakes for families nationwide as this government shutdown drags on. The new notice comes after the Trump administration said it would not tap roughly $5 billion in contingency funds to keep benefits through the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, commonly referred to as SNAP, flowing into November. That program helps about 1 in 8 Americans buy groceries. Bottom line, the well has run dry. The USDA notice says at this time there will be no benefits issued November 1st. We are approaching an inflection point for Senate Democrats. The shutdown, which began October 1st, is now the second largest on record, while the Republican administration took steps leading up to the shutdown to ensure SNAP benefits were paid this month. The cutoff would expand the impact of the impasse to a wider swath of Americans and some of those most in need, unless a political resolution is just found in a few days. And then this is just the administration blames the Democrats, politics right there, and there you go. So that's basically what's going on. You can always, this is apnews.com. You can always search this stuff, but that's basically what's going on. So I want to give, from what I've been seeing online and what people are saying, basically a lot of people just think it's a political theater, and it's just the Democrats and Republicans going back and forth, which is understandable. I don't want to get too much into politics. There's a lot of channels that talk about the politics. I'm just trying to put out what's going on, that information that's happening right now with the shutdown. If you haven't heard, if you're not into politics like that, and just kind of tell you what you can do if you're in a situation, or even if you're not. All you got to do is look at the people that are really concerned. Like there's already food lines, or what do you call it? People waiting in front of those food assistant organizations for food, and you never would think it's you, because there was a lot of government workers that was saying that, hey, I never thought I would be in this food line, but here they are. So these are real people about to lose their food stamps. So about 42 million Americans monthly are using these food stamps. So good amount of people. The average benefit is roughly $350 per household. So I don't know. For some reason, I was thinking it's going to be like 1,000, but it's about $350 per household in many states. So that's the average. It's not as high as I thought it will be, but everyone's situation is different. $350 really, maybe it's just to supplement what they're really bringing in. Um, so yeah, so basically, how I see it is um, the bigger issue is not so much the government shutting down. It's really just people relying on the government to pay their basic necessities. That's never a position that you want to be in where you're relying on the government for the SNAP benefits to send those external payments, and then when they stop, then all of a sudden it's just chaos. So that's not good. A little bit about SNAP. So it began to assist low income households to afford nutritious food. It's the largest U.S. nutrition assistance program. The participation is about 12 to 13% of the U.S. population receiving these SNAP benefits. Now, if you think about the previous wake up call with all this was going on, it's really COVID. COVID, when everything was shut down, a lot of people didn't have the income coming in, so they was relying on government assistance. And at that point, if you was in that position and you know you was feeling it, the you was really feeling the pinch, that should have been your wake up call to really say, you know what, I don't ever want to be in this situation again. What can I do so I can remove myself from that position? I need to build up my stack. I need to do something so that I never have to rely on the government again. That's the first one. A lot of people got those stimmy checks. Was what was it like $1,300? I know we got like two or something like that. And you know, what really can you do with $1,300, especially if you have a whole family? So, but a lot of people just spend it, and then you already know about the fraud, about the PPP loan. So a lot of people just spending money and weren't really thinking about the future of this happening again. So they find themselves in the same position they were back then, which is not a good one. Um, what you can say is the system that's just shutting down now, the SNAP benefits, is really exposing that uh, people's own internal structure of finances is weak, and we already know this. A lot of Americans, or a lot of people in this country, just don't have a savings account. At least um, like no more than $400 they can cover for emergencies. It's really bad. Those statistics are out there, and I mean you can see why. America is the biggest consumer nation in the world. We consume a lot, and when we always consuming because we have the means to do it, lack of discipline is gonna occur, and that's just what happens to most people. So it's not just a crisis of funding from the government or it being shut down. It's really just the personal structure, your own personal financial structure on how you move through the day to day. Because if you're relying on the government, that's just a weakened position to be in. You don't want to solely depend on one pillar, which is the government, in order to sustain yourself. You need multiple pillars, but you already know this. This is just a reminder. But when it's happening now, it's just like shock value, where it's like, oh crap. Now what are you gonna do with it? Most likely you're gonna be okay. You're gonna get through the rough times. Uh, at the same time, you want to think about the future and just expect, you know what, this can happen again. Another shutdown can happen. It can happen every year, especially with how polarized politics are. The Democrats, Republicans always fighting. This can happen again. Let's just say it happens a year from now, next year from now, at the same time. Are you still going to be caught in the same position? If you are, then really shame on you, because you got to start thinking wisely and just say, you know what, I can't do this again, especially if you have children. It is it is your responsibility to make sure it does not happen. You don't put those children through that because they have no choice, obviously, and they looking up to you for leadership, direction, and guidance and wisdom. And you got to make sure that hey, you're not like fooling around with the money that comes in. So, um, yeah. So even if the SNAP benefits do continue, then still you should be building up your savings. They always say 6 months to 12 months, or that's generally what you want to have when you really think about it. If you lost your job, you at least have a good cushion to pay for stuff. I would say if you're not there, which is most people, just start with 1 month start with $500. Can you save that and have the discipline to save that? And then if you could do that, do 1,000, because most people don't have $1,000 in savings for an emergency. Those are the baby steps, and then you can start thinking about, okay, let me get to the month, and then 2 months, and then 3 months, and a quarter or whatever. And once again, the way to understand, I mean, to see how much you need a month, you got to do your audit, and that's why this is why I recommend do an audit. It's not a budget. A budget just tells you what it is, what already happened, part of it, and then also like just how much you can spend. Basically, I keep thinking of uh, the balance sheet. I keep thinking of the balance sheet, but your budget is just telling you how much you can spend in a certain category, which is important. But you need to backtrack and do that forensic audit on where's your money going, why is it going a certain way. Start with the 3 month, get the 3 month, and figure out how you can get to the next step. Anyways, so you don't want to be in a position where you're waiting for the government to open. Like, you got to do something. I think this is also an excellent position, or a very this is like a really critical position for churches and those type of organizations, mosques and stuff like that. They should be providing the food and stepping up to it. What I was hearing was that because of the government and the SNAP benefits, a lot of these religious organizations don't really have those food programs like they used to have like decades ago, because they just put the responsibility just went on the government, the federal government and the state government as well also contribute. So now this is just a moment in time where those churches, on every street corner, are they really helping? Let's see if they step up. And if they're struggling, if those places are struggling as far as with food themselves, then man, that's really a bad look, because they tax free. So it's like, what are you doing with all that money? So yeah. So, but anyways, to close it out, yeah, it's unfair. Many people, you're gonna feel the pain, and I'm not even trying to dismiss that, but at a certain point, you just think, okay, this stuff is gonna happen all the time. There's been government shutdowns before in the past. It's going to happen again. So, kind of like fast forward yourself to that critical point and just look to see, okay, what can you anticipate happening in the at that future time period, or that future time, and then just backtrack and be like, okay, this is what I'll do differently. I'll do this. This is like, think of COVID. Remember how COVID happened? Everything was shut down. People weren't making money like that unless it was like fraud or whatever. You know what I mean? And so you remember how your situation was back then. You're in this situation now. Fine. You're not prepared. You got caught slipping. It is what it is. Don't do it again. Like, you should be thinking, okay, I definitely can't have this happen again. Invest in yourself. Buy books. Look at programs. Talk to people that seem to be financially stable, no matter what's going on in the economy. Get some insight. Get some ideas on how you can make sure you're positioning yourself so that you're always good. You don't want to always be reacting to outrage and things that happen. You should be proactive in what you do in life, and just take it at that. So if every crisis is feeling new to you, then it just means that you didn't learn from the last crisis. So you want to always be careful about that. Be diligent in where your money is going, how your life is, like your lifestyle. Take all that into account. Understand your spending habits, so that you just don't find yourself in a uneasy position like this. And it's also an embarrassing position when there's news cameras out at these food banks, and this the long line, and your face or your picture is in that line. It's like, it's just, obviously it doesn't feel good, but it is what it is. So I hope that helps for those of you that are in that position. All right, so we're gonna go to the next topic, and that is going to be the housing crisis that's going on. So I found this article on Redfin. I didn't even know Redfin had news like that. I thought it was just houses that they're like buying and selling. I don't really think about it. But anyways, asking rents are falling in 28 major U.S. metros. So we already know cost of living is high, especially for housing. But there has been decreases. So the median U.S. asking rent dropped 1% year over year to 1633. I know it talked about median. I was trying to see. I thought I had an article that talked about the average home price. It's probably just in my notes. Um, yeah, it's in my notes. I'll just read it off in my notes. But this is interesting. I like the part where Austin, Texas had like the highest drop in rates, and it was like almost 9%, which was excellent. So yeah, this is the average 1,300 MA. So if you're looking for cheap housing, go to freaking Austin. But it did have, yeah. So this is what I was looking at that I wanted to show you. This is ending May 31st. So these are the different areas. As you can see, medium asking rent, month over month change in median asking rent, year over year change. So really, this is the rent. So Atlanta, 1,500. When I was in Atlanta, I would say this was like 2021. How much was I paying for two? I had a two-bedroom, two bath. It was a gated apartment complex. The apartment building was about 3 years old, and I was paying about $1,400. Utilities was, man, I don't know. The electricity was really high, but it was about $200. So yeah, I think that's what I was. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was 2021. But anyways, and it was a decent. What was it? North Druid Hills. So it's a decent area. So I can see how this is 1,300 Austin, Baltimore 1,600. Yeah, Baltimore houses is cheap. I couldn't believe how cheap those apartments are. If you don't know, I'm in the DMV area, so Baltimore. I'm like, it's like new apartment buildings, and they're just really cheap. And it's not even like the hood areas, like around downtown near what's that University Hospital. Um, what's that place called? I just slipped my mind. The hospital that was buying up all this property and all these homes, but damn, it's like right at the edge. What is it called? John Hopkins. Yeah. But anyways, Boston really expensive. I already know that 2,800 is like the median. Wow. Dallas, Houston is really cheap. 1253. I guess it depends where. Detroit. LA is always gonna be high. Let me see. Philly 1,900. New York 2,800. Portland, Providence, Rhode Island 2,100. Yeah, Riverside. Okay, that's Cali. Cali. I don't really look at the Cali. I already know the Cali stuff is gonna be high. Damn. San Jose 3,200. What? Yeah. Wow. Washington D.C. So my area about 2,100. Yeah, it is. If you want to find a decent place, you're gonna be paying at least $2,000 for like a studio or one bedroom. It definitely is high. Virginia Beach, Norfolk. Okay, so there you go. So, anyways, um, it's not necessarily the government's fault why. Let me switch it up. Why the prices are so high. A lot of people say just big investors like bought up all the houses and just are putting them out to be rented. And yeah, I understand BlackRock is doing their thing, but that's one thing I hear. Rent is up everywhere. I used to think that until I actually researched it, and it's not really true. Landlords raising their prices. Now it depends. It's what I found is that um, if you go to the major apartment complexes, they tend to stay on in line with the inflation and increasing their rents and stuff like that. But if you find like a private landlord, and usually the house is good, like you're not look obviously you use your wisdom to figure out if they're going to be a slumlord or not. But if you go to a private landlord and the places seems put together, maintained well, they're not so pressed to keep up in the rent. Like usually, like I remember when I was a landlord, and when I got the house, the rents were stupid low. Like just the person just never increased the rent, so I had to at least say, okay, I got to increase it a little bit, but it wasn't even that much, and I wasn't gonna keep increasing it every day. Like I wasn't that involved like that. Like okay, the market went up 3% and I got to increase. I wasn't doing all that. Um, so it depends on who you're running for, but I tend to find the private landlords are more flexible. So you can look out for those people because they're just trying to get somebody in their house to help them with their mortgage, and they don't have multiple properties. So if they raise the rent too much, then they don't have anyone. Then they're just footing the cost. Like there's no benefit to them. Um, some people say just wait until the rates come down. I mean, it depends on your situation. Millennials and Gen Z are screwed. The rates are just sky high. Like all this stuff is true, but um, here's what's actually happening. So mortgage rates are averaging around 6.7 to 6.9% as of this month, 2025. Home prices haven't dropped that much. The median home is about $460,000. It's up 3% year over year. 3% is really the inflation rate. So there it is, but it's still freaking too high. Um, so just affordability for a 30-year low mortgage. Um, yeah, it's basically at a 30-year low. Rent is still high overall, but just not everywhere. Just like I showed you, it is dropping around the country, almost 9%. In Austin and other cities like Portland and Vegas, it's actually coming down. Vegas, they're having issues because not a lot of people going to Vegas anymore. People aren't gambling like that, and I'm thinking it's because of the online betting. I think that's a big portion of it, but Vegas rents are coming down, and they just so many of them just overcharged. Like, I think the last time I went to Vegas, like maybe five years ago, and it's like they nickel and dime you everywhere. So basically, will things get cheaper? Perhaps, maybe in the future. I kind of have this belief that prices don't really go down. It's not going to go down much. You have to get your income levels higher. That's just kind of how I see things. But the real question is like, how do you position yourself so that it doesn't matter as much? It doesn't really affect you as much. That's the strategic question that you should be asking yourself. Like with anything, you don't want to always be going with the wave. Like you kind of want to be consistent, or you want to be consistent as far as your emotional level, as far as even if the market is not doing so well, you're still going to be good regardless. There's roughly a 4 million unit housing shortage in the U.S. according to Freddie Mac. A lot of the builders cut construction in 2020 to 2022. Remember when lumber and all the building materials were backed up from the shipping ports? So that increased the prices of lumber. So there's a shortage of that. Not a lot of homes were built during COVID for other obvious reasons as well. So you got a lot of demand, but you just don't got that much supply. Gen Z and millennials, especially Gen Z, entering those years of buying homes, and there's nothing there, or it's too freaking high. Like how can you expect someone young in their 20s to be affording almost a $500,000 home? I remember when I first, like this was in Baltimore, and it's cheap, but I was able to get rental property 2 units for I think it was like 83 it was like 79 or $80,000. It's really cheap. You had regular starter homes that was for like 120,000, maybe 220,000. I think 220 was like the average in Maryland. Now it's like you're spending at least, yeah, like I think the cheapest I've seen around is probably it hovers around like 380, like in a decent area, not a like not in the boondocks or anything like that. So yeah, rent surged 20 to 25%. So you notice rent is has gone up, but it is starting to come down. And that was really during the COVID years. So everything is just tight. It is what it is. So this is what you could do if you find yourself in a position where you're trying to get into another living situation. Maybe the place that you got is not good. I've seen stories about just rodent issues, infestation in a lot of these apartment complexes. I just saw one in Laurel, Maryland, where like people's taking pictures of the mice that keep on getting caught up and stuff like that. But um, basically, these are just 5 steps. 5 steps that you can do in order to put yourself in a better position. So the first thing, if it's feasible, go to where the prices are loosening. So relocate, find another area that you can move. If you have a remote job, then that's should be a possibility for you. Austin, so dropped like 8.8%. Portland is dropped 6%. Minneapolis 5%, and Vegas like 4%. So even if it's temporary, you can make it work. Do what you got to do. That's obviously that's not going to be the most viable solution for a lot of you all, but hey, if you got the means to do it, you're able to do it. If you're just working a job, not a career, and it's kind of funny, hey, this might be a good opportunity for you to really look at the whole country and see, okay, where do you want to live? Especially if this is to happen again, or when it happens again, or another financial crisis happens, or if it's a recession or anything like that. What's the best place that you will want to be? So that's one. Um, if you do decide to buy now, really try to look at the long game. Assume rates won't drop soon, so you want to get in where uh, how much you're paying for your housing costs is really less than 30% of your income. And what I like to do, I don't like going off a gross income. It's not real. Look at how much you bring into your bank account, how much is deposited into your bank account, and use that number, because that will save you from getting into trouble. So if your housing costs can be a third of that, or 30% of, like 30% of your income net, then you're gonna be in a good position. Now you might think, okay, I don't know how I'm gonna do it. If you're a single person, room share. Like, what's the point in if you don't have a family or anything like that? It's probably live with family, room share with other roommates, figure something out. But you don't like you want to cut those hard costs as much as you can. So just focus on, uh, you know, get a smaller home, shared mortgage, multi-unit, a house hack. So if you can get a nice multi-unit for a good price or whatever, and you got like renters already there, something like that. Like just try to figure out how you can put yourself in a good position. Um, Third thing you can do is just negotiate like it was 2020. So this really works with those private landlords. Like see if you get like free parking or some type of this amenity or something like that where it can cut off costs, because it might seem small, but all this stuff starts to add up. And also it's you're also building some skills as well. You're building your negotiating skills. You're building your discipline skills so that you can stay in one line, at least when it comes to your expenses. So it's good so that when things do improve, because the economy goes in waves, you can really maximize your position when it's really high. And because you're building this discipline, it kind of prevents you from going back down that same track that you were before. Number four, stack cash and skills. So get do the gig economy, do some DoorDash, Uber Eats, uh, Uber, like whatever you can to stack up some extra money so you can fund your emergency fund, and also build some skills so that your skill set is always going to be in high demand. You can request more money. You can do what you need to do with that. 6 to 12 months, really a year of expenses you want paid off. But remember, you can always start small with baby steps. Start with $500 for an emergency, then $1,000 for emergency. Then look at the month. Then look at the quarter, and then 6 months, and then go on from there. Understand how much you need a month, and then that's where it comes to the financial audit. You need to know how much you're spending every month in order to so you know how much to allocate every month for your emergency fund and stuff like that. Really important, so that basically when the rates drop and things get better, you'll be in a position. You won't be going off of emotion. You won't be, oh, finally. It's more so like, yeah, this was expected. I'm gonna go ahead and do the moves that I need to do. So this is also in, I'll call it the step 5, your mindset. Instead of waiting for something to change, really depending on the government, you're taking control and you're preparing for when it does change. You're preparing for the winters. You're preparing for when things are not the best. Stop thinking of in terms of own versus rent. Think of control versus dependency. And your goal is just to control your cost of living, not chase perfect timing. So that's what you want to do. So yeah, the system is unfair. You're going to have these ups and downs in the economy. Wages are going to lag. Like something outside of your control is always going to happen to you. So you want to do your best so that you're in a position where you have power, you have leverage somehow. And the way you're going to do it is having a stash of cash, investments, or whatever. And also your skill set, because your mind is what's going to get you to the next stage of being prepared for whatever negative happens. So there you go. Hopefully that helps as far as just if you're in a position where you need better housing, start thinking proactively, start thinking creatively. You always look up stuff, talk to people that seem like they have everything put together. Whatever you do, you got to inject new information into your mind, because your best decisions got you to where you are. How are you going to get anywhere else if you don't try to learn, read, like observe other people? So I would say that'll be my advice to you. All right, we got the next topic, and man, what the heck? Man, that's housing. Oh yeah, that's a lot of job layoffs. So let me put this up. Investopedia. So layoffs this year have reached the highest level since the pandemic, according to one measure. So government spending cuts and economic uncertainty are helping push employers to lay off workers at the fastest pace since the pandemic. Remember when the pandemic happened and a lot of people, maybe you was one of them, like take ownership of it. A lot of people was getting kind of bold and requesting certain privileges with their job, and they pretty much had. I remember on Reddit, it was like there was a post that was talking about, yeah, we got these companies by their balls, like we're gonna get as much money as you can. Then I remember, especially UPS. I think UPS, they was doing like a contract negotiation with the unions, and it was getting like so much money was flowing in, and then as the pandemic started to go away, then they just start laying off a whole bunch of people, and it's just like, oh, they got their, hey, you thought you was good, but you saw who got the power. But anyways, Department of Government Efficiency and Weakened Economy. Okay, so more than half of the almost 700,000 job cuts. Let me go down. Man, this thing is freezing up on me. U.S.-based employers have announced almost $700,000 almost 700,000 job cuts so far this year, according to the new monthly report from business and executive coaching firm Challenger. It's the highest level. So this was in June. So definitely been more cuts recently. Left more than 1.4 million people out of work during the first 5 months of 2020. Um, since the pandemic. Okay. Announced layoffs in May were actually lower than April's level. Okay, so basically it's just talking about. Um, okay, they just promoted themselves. Is this the end of it? But yeah, you got a whole bunch of layoffs that's happening. So let me give you something to think about. Maybe you're in that position where you feel like you can never lose your job, but it happens to a lot of companies. You're especially starting to hear about it more. Maybe because COVID happened and then there's a lot of layoffs, and then now it's kind of happening again, especially in the tech industry. I think it's just a lot of bloat, and it's just correction of the market. So some of the things that you might hear that I hear people saying a lot is, it's just part of. They happen every year. It's just part of business. You're good. You're going to be safe. Unemployment is still low. The labor market is still strong. These cuts are mostly in tech. I remember when a lot of people were saying that. It's like, not necessarily. Entertainment. Lots of people don't work in. They don't apply to me. You just have to find another job quickly. The opportunities are still there. So let me just read out some facts. So you already know about the $700,000 job cuts. It's up from 80% from the same period last year. The layoff and discharge rate in voluntary separations for August 2025 was about 1.1%. Layoffs are not only in tech, but retail, government, obviously, and service sectors are also seeing big cuts. So it's not so much that people are losing their jobs, just that too many built a life and income on one job, and one employer and one paycheck. And this is one thing that when we talk about financial literacy in school, they should really. I don't know why any of these. Well, I'm sure some of the schools are switching it up, but these schools never really talked about being financially secure and having multiple streams of income growing up. When I was at elementary school, middle school, high school, even college, there wasn't no personal finance. So just relying on one thing, and that one thing goes away, then boom, you're stuck. And once again, just going back to COVID, a whole lot of people should have kind of picked up on, oh, wait a minute. And people's hustling, people's getting like side businesses and stuff like that. I think it was one of the years where so many people, the amount of people that was registering businesses jumped by according to the SBA. So a lot of people was trying to figure out other ways, and I think it went back down after the country like started to open back up. So if you're just relying on one pillar, your structure is not going to be strong, especially when a crack occurs. Boom, that one thing is going to be gone. So one thing you want to think about, if you lost your job tomorrow, I mean, can you survive for 3 months, 6 months, 12 months? This is why I talk about the audit. It's very clear and apparent. You must understand how you spend your money. It's not just the physical dollar amount. It's also like your habits, your mentality, how you see the world. What do you find interesting? Why are you spending so much on this thing? Is something triggering these buying habits? It gets psychological. So it's really important to do those audits. You can do it on your own. I also do it myself. And I can help you with that. All those links are in this video's description. If you want to do, at least start with that three-month audit so that you go into the year with a new mind. You can actually make your New Year's resolution and saying like, you know what, this is the year I'm going to be financially stable. I'm going to be free. I'm going to have so much money in this 1 year than I ever had before. It all starts with understanding and tracking your money and why you're spending the way your spending. So instead of just saying like I need job security, what you need is income mobility and resilience. So if you have multiple streams coming in, passive, like be of sell something. You already sell yourself every day when you're interacting with people. Either people gonna like you or they're not gonna like you. So you gotta have that mindset when it comes to sell something. Sell something that doesn't require you to be at the job. Something online. Maybe you have a certain unique skill. It's not so much that you're trying to. I mean, maybe obviously you're trying to make a lot of money, but kind of approach it where, hey, if I can make a little something and I see some promise, maybe I can put more investment into it, but at least I can get a little trick or something, even if it's like $300 a month or something extra. That's still something where you got that cushion, it can build up. You get better at a skill that you work on. You could put yourself in a better position. So you don't want to wait for bad news to hit you. Always prepare and be proactive. Like the reactive stuff, it's it's just going to slow you down and keep you behind it. And next thing you know, it's going to be another year that passes, and then another year that passes. You're just reacting to news and this and that, and then another, and then in like five years, you're going to look back and say, okay, I'm kind of in the same position. Like, okay, COVID started in 2020. You still have a lot of people that are in the same financial situation, the same job situation. It's just like in 5 years, it went by quick, right? In 5 years, you're still in the same place. It's like, oh, that's 5 years of your life that you can't get back. You're closer to the end. So keep that in mind. Like, don't waste your time. Anyways, here's some facts. So job cuts are rising in every major industry. So not just isolated sectors. Even with low aggregate unemployment, layoffs signals structural weaknesses. Many firms cut to restructure or automate, and it's not necessarily economic collapse. It's more so just corrections in the job market. So your job might be safe, but the business environment or company structure might not be. So that's one thing I wish I would have been taught earlier when I was working for like just a company. Think like an entrepreneur. So don't just do your job and just be like an employee. Actually think about like, okay, if I go in and I try to understand the business and what's going on in the industry just a little bit. You don't have to, obviously you're not trying to be a CEO or whatever or a CFO. But if you kind of understand the industry and what's going on, you can kind of foresee if that company is going to have problems. If the company shares numbers with you or with the employees, you could start to see, oh snap, I better start looking for employment. Like, so this is one thing that my friend told me. He's in the pharmaceuticals, so a pharmacist, and he will pay attention to the market contracts that the company gets, and he said he noticed that very senior level people were retiring or quitting, and he was like, wait a minute, something seems off. And then I believe he said he starts like some people was getting laid off, and then he was like, oh, okay, it's something that those senior people knew that he didn't know. But anyways, don't just be an employee. Try to really understand the business, because if the industry is not treating your company well, the company you work for well, then eventually they're gonna get rid of you, or they're just gonna just cut off all the people that are not that valuable to them. So there's no more loyalty in these companies. They don't give pensions anymore. So you really got to look out for yourself. Understand your leverage. So leverage the skills you have give you leverage, adaptability, and just being prepared and ready for what happens. So if you're in that position where you're about to be laid off or you have been laid off, here's some just 5 steps that you can do. Obviously, I said it before, build multiple income streams, so side hustle, freelance, and passive. You already know all this stuff. There's plenty of videos on YouTube that talk about how you can make money. Really, you need to focus on. I would say the first place you want to start is what do you want your life to look like, and then start assessing what skills do you have, and then once you assess what skills do you have, what capabilities do you have, then start researching. Okay, what seems to match the skills that you have and then the lifestyle that you want, and then you could kind of go from there, and then you can start looking at all these YouTube videos. But the first thing you need to understand is what is it exactly that you want and why. Like, get to that question. Have the 6 to 12 month emergency fund, survival fund. Start with $500. If that's all you can do, then 1,000. Put it like it will even help if you put it in a different bank account so that you don't have that immediate access to it. Like, you want to put some barriers and friction to you actually taking some of that money, because what's going to happen, something gets tight, you're like, all right, let me just pull from that. Like, oh, you really gotta try to let that money sit in there. Upskill yourself, future proof yourself. So look at where the trend is going, what do you have an interest in. That interest, look at the industry and see, okay, what skills are beneficial to me, invest in that. There's a lot of free courses online that you can take. Books, I love reading books. You learn so much for really cheap. And if you do that, then you're going to be in a better position than most people in this country. 4, audit your expense. Know what your fixed costs and your variable costs are. So if your income falls like 30%, okay, what do you have to get off, or what do you have to get rid of? How do you make the adjustment? Once again, it comes to, like, you need that financial audit to some type of paper where you can look, or spreadsheet, whatever, and see, okay, these are my expenses every month. This is what it is. Oh, I can definitely cut out a lot from this category. I can move this. I can move this to savings or investing. Like, you want to have that data in front of you so you can make, like, you are the CEO of your life. So think about, what does a CEO of like a Amazon or Microsoft or whatever, how do you think they process the running of the company? They need data in front of them so they can make the best decision. So you can do that for your own life, do that for yourself. You need data, you need the information, and then analyze it. And if you need help, you can always go online. You can contact me. You can ask someone that you know that's very successful. Webinar, like, there's so many ways where you can get that help. You gotta also invest as well in your own education, and you'll be way better off. So, and then the last thing, treat your job like one asset of many. So recognize you might outlive, or you will outlive at some point, your employer or your role. Think of your career as owning an asset, not just being an employee. So, like, even if you're just working a job, it's just to make some money. What's the next step? What are your next 5 moves? What are you gonna do after? Like, what are you doing with the money? If it's just to hang out, like, you're gonna have to sacrifice something. Even if you have to do baby steps, if you're going out four times a week, cut it down to 3. Like, I'm not one of those ones that say, "Oh, make this drastic change," because usually it's not going to stick. But you want to kind of take that in mind. So, anyways, losing a job is traumatic. It isn't just business as usual. It is a change of business environment always. But you don't have to wait for the layoff. Like, be prepared in all situations. And as you're going through all that stress, that high emotions, you build that discipline. Stick to building that discipline, and then you're just gonna create a foundation that's so strong that the next time something happens, you're gonna be good regardless. Um, yeah, and that's my advice for those of you that are getting laid off. Now, for the second one, this is Amazon layoff. So this recently is happening. So let me bring up this article. This is by the AP, and yeah, Amazon cuts 14,000 corporate jobs as spending on artificial intelligence accelerates. So we already know this, the AI is coming. And it's taking away jobs. So what we got going on? Amazon will cut about 14,000 corporate jobs as the online retail giant ramps up spending on artificial intelligence while cutting costs elsewhere. Teams and individuals impacted by the job cuts will be notified on Tuesday. Most workers will be given 90 days to look for a new position internally. Okay. Wrote in a letter to employees, those who can't find a new role at the company or who opt out not to look for one will be provided transitional support, including, of course, severance pay, outplacement services, and health insurance benefits. Amazon has about 350,000 corporate employees and a total workforce. Wow, 1.56. Yeah, I see that. The cuts announced Tuesday amount to about a 4% reduction in its corporate workforce. Man, this is a huge company. Um, Let me see. Just at the time that Amazon had more than 1,000 generative AI services and applications in progress or built. Oh, okay. Man, I don't know why this computer is going slow. Amazon has announced plans to invest $10 billion building a campus in North Carolina to expand its cloud computing and AI infrastructure. Since 2024, Amazon has committed to about, damn, $10 billion. Wow. Data center. Wow. Yeah, they're gonna. I heard about in some like countries like China, their factories are just it's basically all robots. It's just dark inside because the robots don't need it, and yeah, it's just machines. So, but that takes a lot of energy. I always wonder like where's all that energy gonna be coming from? And then it can only I would think that the energy rates will start to increase after some time. So okay. But anyways, that's what's going on. Yeah, that's what's going on. Amazon already talked about doing this anyway. So, so what I usually hear from the web, or maybe you feel this way, I would hear that people say this is just pure greed. Amazon made over $36 billion in profit last year, and they're still laying people off. It's corporate America doing what it does best, cutting jobs to boost stock prices. Maybe that's part of it. They overworked warehouse employees during COVID. Now they're firing office workers while executives take bonuses. Um, AI is an innovation. It's another excuse to get rid of people and automate humanity out of work. Hey, I mean, things are always moving. So one of the richest companies on earth is slashing staff. So a lot of people are, understandably upset about this. Maybe you're one of the Amazon workers. The way I look at it is, like, I understand the anger. People see, just a company that grew fast and now it just seems like they get cutthroat and, you know, it is what it is. That's how it is. It's a public company. They got to make sure the shareholders are taken care of. So I get that part. But here's what's actually going on beneath it. So some interesting things: 4,000 corporate job cuts this week, with plans that could reach 30,000. So that'll be about 10% of the corporate staff. The company says it's reducing its layer and redirecting money towards AI, automation, and logistics efficiency. So you already know Amazon is really quick and tries to be efficient. They're shifting their business model and not just slashing for greed, but either way, it doesn't feel good. The deeper issue is still if someone like Amazon that makes all this money to like billions of dollars every year to restructure to stay competitive, then what does that mean with everyone else that's living off of one paycheck in their industries or with their job? It means you're not safe. And any job, any organization can do this, and they have done this in the past. and we hear about it all the time, but maybe at the time it just didn't affect us. So, but when it comes to affecting you, or anything can happen, how are you going to respond to it? Um, Systems are always evolving, and if you're not one of those people that evolve and grow, then you're always going to find yourself in some stuff. So, interesting facts: Amazon's uh, 2025 revenue. Hold on. Oh yeah, revenue versus profit. Revenue 634 billion so far for 2025, up year over year. Amazon just keeps getting bigger and bigger. That's roughly, only 4% of this corporate work staff is being cut off. And Amazon hired too aggressively during the pandemic. It added almost a million workers 2020 to 2022. And that's understandable because everyone was on Amazon just ordering stuff. No one can go out. So yeah, that is when Amazon really started to. I mean, it's always been big, but they was making bank during that COVID time because you can only ship stuff and you can only get stuff by order. So they took advantage of it very well. Um, is there greed involved? Sure. I mean, it's capitalism. Every company is going to want a profit, but if you always see stuff like this as evil, then you know I don't know what to tell you. That is the world. That is life. That is people. Um, People always want some type of profit for whatever extra work that they do. No one wants to do anything for free. And these companies, when you have got to think about it, when you got shareholders that invest millions of their own money into a company, that company it has a responsibility, a fiduciary responsibility to increase the return on that investment. So they got to do what they got to do. They always got to keep on growing for as long as they can. Um, so yeah, don't just criticize Amazon or all these other companies. Just learn from it. What can you do differently? Like one of the things I like to do is kind of like just see myself as a company, and I'm like CEO owner, and I will try to think how can I move like these companies because these companies like how these companies run, they do exceedingly well. How can I learn from that and bring on some of those skills? How can I analyze stuff? It always comes down to data. What data do I have about myself? That's why the financial audits are really important. And how to be disciplined, what pivots to make, how to be strategic, and how I do it. Partnering with other, so companies will partner with other companies if it makes sense. How can you expand your network and partner with other people in the industry or something that they're doing? I like to think about those type of things when it comes to businesses and how can I apply the good stuff to my life to make my life easier. But yeah, that's Amazon cutting off workers, doing its layoffs and restructuring, all mostly for AI. All right, so the last one is going to be about Zoran Mamdani, and if you don't know about him, then you really don't follow politics at all. But this is the pretty much going to be looking like the mayor of New York. So he calls himself a Democratic or a Democrat socialist, and he looks like he's about to win. He says a lot of stuff. I'm gonna go to his website and then I can show you what he's about. But just to describe him, a young Democrat socialist candidate promising free transit, rent freezes, and city-owned grocery stores. The city-owned grocery stores was really a hot topic for a while. So yeah, he's just offering his campaign is like everything is going to be free buses and stuff like that. So maybe you've heard of him. I would think so. Most people are online now. and follow politics because Trump the Trump campaigns and the whole political atmosphere, especially after COVID. Everyone is in politics now, so sure you heard about them. So I'm just gonna kind of talk about this. So this article was back in July, so it's kind of outdated, but this was talking about when he became the Democratic nomination for mayor of New York, and 1 week after voters. So that's what it's talking about. So let's just go to his platform. So this is his New Yorkers too. Okay, so this is his website. Then he goes to the different sections. So freeze the rent. He wants to. So he talks about a lot of stuff in here. You can always go to Zoran for NYC. I guess is what it says. You can go and check it out. So he talks about freeze. He doesn't want rent increase. Okay, let's see. Um, Jacking up rents on stabilized apartments by 12.6%. So, anyways, I'm just gonna kind of click through all of them. Build affordable housing. Now, I'm not a fan of his. Like, I'm not a socialist, but you can read for yourself. I think a lot of people that was voting didn't even take the time to really read his website or study who he is. So, anyways, safety, affordability. So, anyways, you can always go to his website and see. I'll just kind of briefly just talk about what it means. So he is offering real relief, free bus rides, rent freezes, grocery stores owned by the city. Regular people are getting a shot at having a quality life. Um, Talks about the establishment has ignored the working class, like the same political. I don't want to get into the political. I guess it's a political topic, but you probably heard it all. Rich against the poor. That's kind of he describes himself as a socialist. So more community based funding and stuff like that. So I'll say it's bold, but this is where a lot of people don't pay attention to what America can actually do, and I'm going to tell you. So what the mayor can do is appoint or remove commissioners of city agencies, set major agency leadership, prepare and administer the city budget and capital plan, veto local laws passed by city council, set policy direction, issue executive orders over city departments. Very limited. So what the mayor cannot do is raise broad taxes on their own without council or state approval. So one thing he always talks about is raising taxes on the top 1% of income earners, which he can't do. I think that's really for the governor to do. Um, he can't ignore constraints imposed by state government, state legislation, or shared jurisdiction with state federal agencies. He can't guarantee that a platform of free services is sustainable without budget backing, revenue sources, or economic shifts. So basically, when you hear free stuff, you got to think about who pays and who governs the revenue, because always remember the government don't got no money; they have our money, and most governments don't know how to manage money well. So also got to think about who's enforcing this too. But the plan depends on high tax rates. So he talks about it's just going to be for the top 1%. But think about it. If hold on, what? I'm gonna actually look this up. What is the top 1% tax rate in NYC? To determine the top tax rate. Okay. An income. This can't be right. Okay, federal 37% on income over 626,000. Wait. Must combine the highest marginal tax rates. Oh, I said the question wrong. Okay. Who are the top 1% earners in NYC? Just curious. Okay. To be in the top 1% of earners in NYC, you need an income of at least $891,000, about $892,000, according to a 2025 study. So, income threshold, the income floor for the top 1% of earners. So, basically, under $1 million. Is this. So, that's the floor. And I think this is before tax. Yeah, it's just the income coming in. So, yeah, whatever you put in on your taxes. So that's not. It's less than $1 million. So when he's talking about 1% tax to 1% extra extra extra, if damn you really gotta knock off a lot of your things you can write off, because this is, I don't think this is after tax. I can't remember how it's done. Is it before tax? I don't know how they do it. But anyways, the whole point is, it's not a lot of money. When people say, when he says the top 1% of earners, people are thinking like billionaires, but it's not even $1 million. So imagine those type of people, or those people that are earning that. Let's just say 900,000 or $1 million. They worked hard to get to that position, or whatever it is. You can't be a dum dum and be making that much. If if a mayor, or let's just say a governor, is saying that they're gonna tax you more, it's kind of like, what's the incentive to keep working like harder? At that point, you're gonna be looking at your options and just say, you know what, I'm just gonna go somewhere else. Like, why am I gonna bust my ass, work hard, and then the government's gonna penalize me essentially, and say that, oh, now you need to pay more for these services? And it's just like, I don't want you touching my money. You don't manage the stuff well that I'm already giving you. So, but anyways, so that's what it is. I'm glad I was able to see that. New York City oversees a municipal budget in the tens of billions and employs hundreds of thousands of workers, must operate within the state charter and rules. The mayor's appointment power covers major agencies, but major policy changes often require the state and council court. He's not going to have any of this free stuff. It's just not going to work, because the taxes are going to go up too high, and taxes are already high. Remember, the government doesn't have any money. They get money by taxing people. And usually it's going to be, if all the top earners are leaving, or a good portion of them, or a sizable chunk, then it's like you're just putting stress on the ones that are below that number. And it's like, for what? Like, making businesses harder, make like it just it's not a good long-term solution. It's just to get political points and get voted in. So anyways, what are some situations are if you are in the situation, you live in New York and you're trying to figure out what to do, how you should move? I don't know. A lot of people saying they're going to leave. People say they're going to stay. I don't know. So we can do evaluate the promises versus power. If you haven't voted yet, before vote, just check, can the mayor fulfill these obligations? Does he have the power to do this? This should always be the first thing. Number two, understand the trade-offs. So free services always means that someone else is paying, which is going to be you in your paycheck. So number three, ask yourself personally, will your taxes rise? Will your rent or home value shift? How will that look? Will jobs be destroyed, created? So think about the small business owners. If the taxes on those small businesses are going up, they can't something has to change for them in order for them to stay in business. So usually it means you got to fire people, put people on part time, or just shut down shop all the way, and that's happened before. And then number five, just build your own stability. So regardless of who wins, you want to be in a financial position where it doesn't matter. You got multiple streams of income. You got passive income coming in or semi-passive income, something like that, where it's not just one paycheck that you're relying on. You also got skills. You're developing yourself. You make yourself a really high quality free agent in case you need to make a move. You need to make a pivot. So, yeah, it's bold leadership that can lead to change as far as Mamdani and what he's doing. But bold does not mean guaranteed. Doesn't mean it's going to go through. Doesn't mean it's going to work. It might just end up being the same situation as before. I think the only thing I can really think of that can really change drastically is crime, and in an immigration situation over there, it can get more critical. So that's all I can think of. But just in anything when you're doing voting, your goal is not to be a cheerleader. Is really just to analyze, to be an analyst and a strategist as far as how this person is going to affect your life. Because always remember they're living off of taxpayer funds, so it doesn't affect them like that. They're going to get paid regardless. They're going to have their same six-figure income regardless. You're the one that's footing the bill. So you need to make sure that you really hold them accountable. It's not just saying it. It's like, no, they're actually taking your tax dollars. And if you're not voting or if you're not participating, then that's not a good situation to be in. So that's all I got for that position. So we'll see what the election brings. It's gonna be happening next week. I think like less than a week from now. So we'll see what happens, and I'll make a video about it. And over time, you can at least see, okay, how did it all turn out? Because right now we're all speculating. We don't know what's really going to happen, but is what we'll just see what happens. So, anyways, there's a lot of stuff happening. You got shutdowns, you got housing chaos, layoffs, elections. It all comes down to one thing: really build your foundation. Make sure you're straight. Make sure you're thinking about your next moves ahead. Be prepared. Be proactive. Don't be reactive to what's going on in the world. Something is always going to happen. Something bad is always going to happen. The winters are always going to come. You need to be prepared for the winters when it's summertime. Think about winter during the summer. Don't think summer all summer. Think about winter during the summer, so that when these situations occur, you're not going to be like everybody else, just running around with your head cut off, like, oh, what I'm going to do, oh, need to just make a ruckus. Like that's not gonna solve your position. If the only thing you could do is just make noise, it's just showing like you're powerless essentially, and you can't. We all have control of our decisions and choices in life, and some people take advantage of it and some people don't. So as always, everything you need to understand the data for yourself. So financial audits, get your financial audit, know where your money is going, 3 months, 6 months, 12 months. It's also that you can, once you understand where your money is going, then you can move money aside. And this is how it starts, the audit starts paying for itself, where you're just like, wait a minute, why am I spending so much money here? Or you can catch people that are stealing from you, because this is what happens with a lot of small businesses and just businesses in general, where they'll have an audit done, or they'll have an outside person come look at the books, and then they'll start to see, oh, they got an employee that's been stealing $1,000, just small amounts every little by little. A comparison can be your subscription. So subscription services that you no longer use anymore, they're still on your credit card. They're still pulling away money. If you start to track that, it can add up to like hundreds of dollars in a month, especially maybe even up to $1,000 in a year. Take that stuff off, and because of the audit, now the audit doesn't only point out your spending habits and where your money is going. it also makes you empowered to be proactive about how you're spending your money, where your money is going. And also, I do give insight on, okay, like what is it that you want? What do you want your life to look like? I'm gonna give you some insight or give you some ideas of what you could start thinking about so that you could start building your financial life towards that goal. Rather than just, it's not just about taking in income or whatever. You can even decrease your expenses. You can move somewhere else, like, okay, Bali. You can move to Bali, cut your expenses. If you have a remote job or you have some type of skill that's valued everywhere, you can get that job, not even make as much, and still have the quality of life and the life that you want. So it's all about choices. Understand that it's not only about just being in America. Like the whole global world is changing. It's not this. It isn't like how it was in the 1950s, where America and the UK were the only countries that really were advanced. Like if you just travel, start looking at all these different countries that are really coming up and showing promise, and then you can. There you go. That's just one. That's one insight or idea that I share with my clients. So there you go. If you have any questions, if you look in this video's description, there's a link that you can ask away. So I recommend you do that. If you haven't already done so, subscribe to the channel. Click the bell so that you are alerted when I drop new videos. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one.